Welcome to the Caterpillar Mining Webinar Series. I'm John Engel, Product Performance Manager for the Large Mining Trucks and your host. We're coming to you from the Autonomous Control Room at Caterpillar's Proving Grounds and Demonstration Area near Green Valley, Arizona. This webinar will be about the 794 AC, our 320-ton, 290 metric ton mining truck. We'll start out talking a little bit about how the trucks are doing in the field and then go out and do an in the iron walk around. Online we have mining customers, CAT dealers, and CAT employees joining us. Thank you. We know your time is valuable. I'm joined here with experts who spend time in the field with our trucks and our customers. John Hoffman and Mark Richards. Welcome, guys.
Thanks, John. Hi, my name is Mark Richards. I am the Large Mining Truck Commercial Manager for Caterpillar. I've been working for Caterpillar for about 17 years now. Almost all of that's been in the mining business, and most of it's been in the large mining truck business, where I've either been a rep in the field serving our dealers and customers, or in the product group as a marketing and commercial professional.
I'm John Hoffman. I'm a senior project engineer responsible for Cat Mining electric drive trucks. I've been in trucks for about 7 years now, coming over from the unit rig side of the business.
Great. Well, welcome. Thank you. I'm looking forward to talking about the 794. Before we do that, I do want to just share a little bit of information for those online, how to use the webinar interface. In the upper left-hand corner, we have information about our speakers. You can see links to their email and LinkedIn. Underneath that, we have a resource section with links to more information about Cat mining trucks and the 794. And then on the bottom right, you'll see that we have a place you can send in questions. Portions of this webinar are pre-recorded, but we will try to get back to your requests here. If not, we'll get to you on an email. Okay, let's get started. About a year ago at Mine Expo, we introduced the 794, and we had a lot of interest. A lot of people showed up. Mark, can you tell us kind of how things have gone since then?
Yeah, John. So at Mine Expo, we did have an exciting introduction of the 794. That was the first time we had actually shown the truck at Mine Expo. We actually had the truck developed several years before that and actually showed it to some customers as early as the 2012 Mine Expo down here at Tanaha. In that time, we've had several sites that have been using the trucks. We've ran them in copper applications. We now have trucks running in coal applications. And really the reception from mining customers has been fantastic. A lot of interest. That size class has been very popular with miners, but CAT hasn't been there before. There's been a lot of pull to have a CAT entry in that class, and customers have really responded. We're seeing interest across the world from a variety of applications, as I mentioned. And the great thing about the 794 is it leverages, as John Hoffman mentioned, we bought Unit Rig as part of the Bucyrus acquisition. The frame design itself on the 794 is extremely proven, has hundreds of thousands, if not millions of hours on that frame design. And then we've combined it with the 795 drive system, which also has over 4 million hours of proven performance. When you combine those two things together, you're seeing really kind of the best of both worlds, and customers are responding. We're going to talk a little later about a lot of the features of these trucks, but it's really taken, in my opinion, that class to the next level by combining that proven design of the chassis components with the CAT electric drive system.
You mentioned about the high field hours. So at this point, I know we've gone through some initial PCR lives on engines and items like that. Plus, we're leveraging the high hours out of the 785. So what are we seeing? How's that going?
The hours themselves on those components are quite high. John can speak to some of the electric drive components, but the engines as well have really performed well. Even in deep pit applications with very high load factors, we're seeing engines go well beyond 20,000 hours. We'd expect even longer lives with lower horsepower settings, but the C175-16 has really turned into an outstanding performer, and that's the engine we're using in the 794, and also leveraging the hours we have on other applications such as the 793F large mining truck as well. So John, maybe you want to speak to the electric drive side of things.
Overall, the electric drive components have proven themselves out very well. We're seeing a lot of field sites between the 794 and 795 which share the same electric drive motors and similar generator configurations, same internals, go well beyond 30,000 hours. So we think we have pretty good line of sight to even start exceeding our PCR targets in the field.
Well, that's great. Thank you. Mark, I know you spend a lot of time in South America and Central America. We have some 794s running in a coal mine down there. Can you kind of share a little bit about the application, the challenges down there, and how the trucks are doing?
Yeah. Well, we've had a large customer with a coal mine in Colombia that has ran CAT trucks for a long time. They've ran 793 trucks for their overburden applications, 789 trucks for their coal haulage applications, and they've had larger 300 plus ton competitive trucks for a very long time, having a fleet of about 150 of those trucks at its peak. You know, we've always seen that as a challenge. We've wanted to go in there with our own larger ultra class truck and go head to head with the competition. And we've had that opportunity with the 794, placing 2 trucks into that application. It's really a unique application for a coal mine. Colombia has kind of folded and dipping coal seams, so you actually have to chase those seams quite deep, quite different than a lot of the mines you'd see elsewhere. Creates a unique proving ground for a ultra class truck in that you actually kind of see both types of applications, the longer flatter hauls as well as the deep pit type hauls. What that allows us to do with our 794 design is we actually are unique in that we can set to 3 different horsepower settings in that truck. So if you're in a longer flatter haul, we can take advantage of our 2750 horsepower setting. If you're in the deepest type pit application, you can go and set the same engine to a 3500 horsepower setting. And if you see kind of both, we actually have a middle horsepower setting at a 3100 horsepower. So without doing an expensive change or swapping an entire engine like a lot of the competitive trucks do, you can set that engine and optimize it to various horsepower settings to optimize your fuel and productivity. Match the fleet, whatever you need to do to optimize that truck application. So overall, the mine's feedback so far has been extremely positive. We've heard positive comments from the mine managers as well as the operators on the truck, and we've also seen that it runs well in that mixed fleet application with the trucks that were there, the ultra class trucks that are there, as well as the 793 fleet, which continues to perform in a lot of areas of the mine, and that mine also sees a big future for buying 793s going forward as well.
Well, you make a comment about 793s, and I've seen this mine and other mines which actually continue to use 793s. I don't know if any of you have some thoughts or comments on, is it always the right thing to move up to a 290 metric ton truck, or maybe is it a place for the 793s too?
Yeah, I'll let John add his comments as well, but what we found is a lot of customers, it's not always an easy decision whether you stay with the truck size you've had or go to a larger truck size. There's a lot of trade-offs going to a larger truck size. One is the mine infrastructure is a big challenge oftentimes. The road width within the mine can be a challenge. If you have to expand those road widths, you might have to change the overall pit dimension, and then you look at your maintenance shops. Some were designed a long time ago, and 240-ton, short-ton type trucks are about the biggest you can fit into that without a big investment. You also got to keep in mind the people side of the business as well. If they're used to operating on and working with, from a maintenance perspective, mechanical drive trucks such as a 789 or a 793, can be a big change to go to an ultra class electric drive truck. So there's a lot of considerations there that you got to think about.
No, I think that's all excellent points. And one point that I would add to that is even looking at the haul road design. With a larger truck, you may have to widen your haul road. So if in a really deep pit type application, it may not make sense to go to a larger truck just with how much material you have to push back in order to get to that width that's required. So there's a lot of economic variables.
One other thing I'd add is, you got to look at your underfoot conditions as well, and you also got to look at ground pressures and a variety of things. Even though all the trucks are designed to, work and minimize the ground pressure, there is just no substitute for having somewhat of a smaller, more nimble truck. If you're at the bottom of a pit and you have poor ground conditions, or even just the tight space dimensions can make it more beneficial to run with the smaller trucks. Even the biggest copper mines in Chile oftentimes run a mixed fleet of having some of those smaller trucks just to run to the bottom of the pit or work on construction type applications and such.
Thank you. John, I know you spent time with several of our mines with 794s doing performance studies. I'm thinking of like one of the copper mines where you've been out there. Can you kind of share what you found in our performance studies and what you're hearing from those customers?
Yeah, I've been to several of the sites that have purchased some of the 794s and been involved in several of the production studies, and all the feedback seems to be very consistent from what I'm hearing. I mean, overall, the customers are very impressed with our empty machine weight, typically coming in lighter than the competition, and that's delivering more payload to them. So I've been very happy with being able to truly hit the 290 metric ton payload, 320 short tons, in most machine configurations, whether you're having attachments on the truck, a liner package for the body. It's truly been able to deliver that payload, which is helping their bottom line. Other feedback has been the speed on grade has been very excellent. I think just with a full CAT drive system and CAT engine fully integrated, we're able to optimize that, and we're getting more power to the ground with less parasitic loss. So speed on grade's been very good. I've actually seen in the field where the 794 has been able to catch the competitive trucks on the haul. So it's been very favorable feedback from the customers on that. And probably the last point I would touch on is really the maintenance side. I mean, every mechanic I talk to is just always impressed with, we have two platforms that run on both sides of the engines, and just having all that space, being able to easily work, whether it's replacing injectors, the bellows, turbos, etc. It's just incredible, that amount of space, as well as ground level access to filters, and just the simplicity of the design. You've got basically your hydraulics on your left side of the truck, and you've got your electrical on the right hand side of the truck. So it's been very easy and simple to maintain. Some of the comments have been, it's as easy as the competition, if not better in some of the certain areas. So one example I would hit on would be the generator change out. We're able to remove the generator without removing the engine, where the competitive machines typically have to pull the engine and the generator together. It's a dual bearing generator, so it doesn't require extra shimming or anything like that. So it makes it much easier to replace that generator. So that's been a huge savings for our customers.
Great. Well, thank you. You know, since Mine Expo, I've seen a lot more information out there on the website about the 794. I don't know, John, can you share a little bit of where we can get that information and kind of what's being added out there?
Yeah, you can find that information on cat.com/794AC, and really the new marketing campaign that we're launched here is really just leveraging all the customer feedback that we've been seeing. I mean, I touched on a lot of the points on the previous question, but it's been more payload that we've been able to achieve versus the competition. It's been the speed on grade driving the productivity advantage. It's delivering a better bottom line to the customers. Our customers are seeing the better cost per ton. And that empty weight and that payload that we're delivering is helping other things like our component life that we're seeing and our tire life. We're hearing positive feedback on tire life being able to last longer than some of the competitive trucks as well. So it's all kind of rolling in that whole package, delivering better cost per ton to the customer.
That's great. So if you're interested, again, on our resource box here, you can follow that link and go to that site and get more information about the 794. So thanks for the intro here, guys. We've talked about the 794. Previously, John was out in the field on our 794 and did a walk around. Pretty interesting there. So we're going to cut to that and watch that walk around, and we'll come back in a minute.
Hello, my name is John Hoffman. I'm going to be walking you around the 794 AC. It's our electric drive truck that features a 320-ton payload, 290 metric tons, with a 100% Caterpillar powertrain, powered by a C175 16 engine. Let's start off on the right-hand side by the battery box at the machine lockout. On the right-hand side of the 794 AC is the machine lockout. It's attached to the battery box here that can be serviced individually or as a set. It can be easily taken out with a crane or a forklift and a new one slid in. Next, let's walk over to the left-hand side and talk about the access. The 794 AC features a 45-degree diagonal access ladder. It has 600 millimeter wide stairway point. It comes down at the cab left-hand side that provides excellent operator visibility for mechanics approaching the truck. It has an optional powered access point as well, shown on this truck here. Next, let's talk about the service center located on the left-hand side of the truck. The 794 service center on the left-hand side of the truck makes servicing simpler, having all your oils and hydraulic fluids in one location. You've got access to your engine oil, your coolant, your grease, and your hydraulic oil. Also found in the same area is the emergency shutoff, as well as the powered ladder access. Now let's talk about the floating front axle of the 794 AC. The floating front axle of the 794 AC is a carryover from the legacy MT4400 and MT6300. This design has been in the marketplace since the 1990s and is proven to show much better front tire life. What is unique about the floating front axle is the steering and suspension loads do not affect the tire contact, so you get consistent tire contact on both sides of the truck. In addition to that, the suspension cylinders are short stroke suspension cylinders that can actually be replaced without taking the tire off. This equates in less maintenance downtime, and the suspension cylinders can be interchangeable between left and right, which means less part stocking on site. On the left-hand side of the machine, you'll find the steering and brake accumulators. Next to the accumulators is the hydraulic tank. This machine here has the left and right-hand side fast fill fuel standard. There's also an optional attachment to take the left-hand side fast fill fuel and route it to the bumper. Next, let's talk about the rear of the truck. The 794 AC features 4-corner wet disc brakes. On the rear brakes, you can find your service brakes and your park brakes incorporated in the wet disc brakes. This helps keep hydraulic lines outside of the axle box. Those brakes are spring-applied, hydraulically driven brakes. So in the event of a hydraulic failure, the brakes will automatically apply. Inside the axle box here, you'll find access to the speed sensors on the electric drive motors. The electric drive motors are found separate from the final drives, which makes servicing easier. Next, let's talk about the right-hand side of the truck. The 794 AC features a 1,300-gallon standard fuel tank with an optional fast fill fuel on the right-hand side with an optional left or front hookup. It features 4 site level gauges to easily check your fuel level from ground level. This machine here is set up as a Tier 4 machine, which has the PETU tank on the back side of the fuel tank. Next, let's talk about the cab. The 794 AC is a large, spacious cab featuring 2 cat comfort seats, one for the operator, one for the buddy seat. It provides excellent visibility with this 191-degree bent windshield in the front. In the center console here is an integrated park brake, and it has a built-in door alarm, so if you, as an operator, forget to set the park brake, it will automatically alarm when you try and exit the vehicle. Also in the center console is your retarding control. It's a push-button type control to engage the retarding system, and then you've got a simple toggle switch to increase or decrease the retarding power. Also on this truck features a dual brake pedal that incorporates the first 75 to 80% of travel, which engages the retarding control system, and the remaining 15 to 20% blends in your wet disc brakes. You can always get into the wet disc brakes on this truck if you need additional braking power. And conveniently located on the left-hand side of the operator seat are the hoist controls. The radial retard grid on the 794 AC sits back in the far right-hand side of the deck. This provides excellent visibility for the operator up to the right-hand side of the truck, as well as good visibility to the mirror. Conveniently located behind the cab is a hydraulic cabinet that allows for the operator to make checks on the hydraulic systems from the steering and the braking systems to easily troubleshoot if there's a problem with the truck. The radial retard grid on the 794 AC features the highest continuous retarding capability in its size class. This configuration here is the Tier 4 configuration, so this radial retard grid has been raised up a little bit in order to fit the SEM modules behind the unit. Right here is where you can access to the rear side of the inverter, which has a optional platform attachment, as well as tie-offs to access the rear of the inverter. The front of the inverter here features Caterpillar proprietary drive system. It has sandscreen filters in front of the 7 phase modules found here that draws in cool air across the evaporated cooled IGBTs. Next to the inverter cabinet, you can find our ECMs. In the ECM control box, you'll also have an additional engine lockout and drivetrain lockout. Next to the ECM cabinet is our grease tank, which can be filled via ground level based on with the optional service center attachment. The 794 AC features a C175-16 engine. It comes in 3 optional horsepower configurations that can be changed with a simple flash file. This allows the customer to decide what is the best fuel economy and productivity of the machine, and a great way to intermix with existing fleets or changing applications. The wide engine platforms running on both sides of the engine allow for excellent serviceability for mechanics, whether it's needing to access your turbos, your ejectors, or your bellows. These platforms run all the way back to the generators allow for easy checks of the generator as well. I'm standing underneath the 794 AC. As you can see, it offers great serviceability. I'm standing right next to the hydraulic filters, which can be found on the high pressure side of the hydraulic system. Above me is the generator, which is a brushless dual bearing generator that requires no shimming when installing with the engine. It can also be removed and installed without removing the engine, creating much less downtime and labor hours requirement. Behind me here is the hydraulic hoist valve. Above that, you'll find the pump stack. The pumps are powered by a through shaft off the back of the generator. There are 3 hydraulic pumps, one for the hoist, one for the steering and brake, and one for the hydraulic blower motor. Thank you for joining me today on the walk around of the 794 AC. For more information, please go to cat.com/794AC.
Well, thanks, John. That was really interesting. I know you meet a lot of customers and mining dealerships around the truck, and I know you get a lot of questions. Is there any question or 1 or 2 questions that usually stands out to you that you hear asked?
Yeah, one thing that I feel we typically get a lot of feedback and questions on is regarding our contactor life on the 794 and the 795. Typically, we're hearing feedback of almost 6 times longer life than the competition. And that has to do with the overall design of the Caterpillar system. We actually put our contactors in series, so they don't actually engage until all of them have been closed, and they actually turn off at 0 voltage. So they engage at a much lower voltage than the competition, which helps in giving a longer life. In addition to that, we worked with the contactor suppliers to go with a tungsten alloy tip and a very thick, robust system. So we're seeing very good life in the field. So that's always been typically one of the concerns that our customers have seen carried over from the competition.
Oh, okay, yep.
Another thing that I would hit on that's a very common question is, what's the braking difference between the 794 and the 795? The 794 has the same retarding grid as the 795, so the same retarding capabilities, and they both have wet disc brakes on the trucks. So overall, you see a lot of similar braking features between the trucks. They both have the blended braking when you're coming to complete stop. They both have the same retarding controls. Where you get into the difference comes in with the 795 has higher brake cooling capabilities, so you can actually do what's called blended retarding, which is found on our mechanical drive trucks. So you can actually set to bring in the front and rear wet disc brakes in addition to the retarding grid itself. We elected, when we designed the 794, to not have that same brake cooling capability in order to get a more efficient, you lose some of it on the parasitic side of things in going after that extra brake cooling capability. But it's nice because the 795 and the 794 are able to complement themselves very well, where if you have a very wet condition type application, we can offer a 795 or the 794 to give the best, most efficient system possible. And overall, the feedback has been very positive from sites with the 794. Even in wet conditions, the feedback from the operators on both the 794 versus the competition. I've heard comments regarding, the 794 wouldn't have slid there when I was riding in a competitive machine. So they've been very favorable with how the 794 has been able to handle. The wet disc brakes on the trucks are a very robust design. So even on the 794, we have the brake cooling to be able to get into those wet disc brakes if you truly need to. Most of the time, though, you're able to operate with the high retarding grid capability. You're able to operate very well within that envelope of the retarding capability.
Great. Well, thank you. So looks like we have time here. We'll take a couple questions that have come in. The first one would be, will we be having a Tier 4 solution for the 794? John?
Yeah, we are in development of the 794 Tier 4 solution. We will certainly have that available for our customers if they need the Tier 4 option. Overall, the 794 leverages the same Tier 4 technology that's on the rest of the Caterpillar offering. So we've got more than 1 million hours on Caterpillar Tier 4 engine solutions and over 50,000 hours on a large mining truck. So even with the 793s, the 797s, 785s already having Tier 4 on them, we're able to leverage all of that learning from that to incorporate onto the 794.
Yeah, in fact, your walk around, it was a Tier 4 truck, and so we had talked a little bit about that out there, and I think the fact that we are leveraging common components says a lot, so that's good. The other thing here we have is, I think, Mark, this would be for you. Are we going to have an autonomous truck offering on the 794?
Yes, we will have an autonomous truck offering on the 794. We have that in our development plans now. We'll have a truck down here at our proving ground soon to start that development work. We've had a lot of customer pull for autonomous trucks. As most people know, we've got a large fleet of autonomous 793 trucks operating in Western Australia, as well as going into many different other applications. We're really developing autonomy across our whole large mining truck product line. So that's all really been driven by customer pull. The CAT autonomous system has performed so well, we're even getting pull for customers that own competitive trucks to actually put the competitive trucks with the CAT autonomy system. So, we believe the CAT autonomous solution can deliver in ways that the competitive systems cannot, and therefore, of course, we're going to have a 794 solution as well. The key thing for that is just making sure we have a good partner in our customers out there in the field, and as soon as we get a fleet in place that that customer pulls for there, we'll go ahead and work with that customer to put autonomy on the trucks. So.
Great. Well, thanks, Mark. Well, we're about out of time, so I guess I'll ask if you have any closing comments. John?
Yeah, I just want to reiterate, the 794 AC has been very strong in the field versus the competition. So when you're looking at a truck in the 290 metric ton, 320 short ton, really focus on what the numbers are actually saying. Focus on the machine weights and the payload, the speed on grade, because that's truly delivering a better cost per ton than the competitive trucks. It's been a consistent message with what we've seen. The maintainability of the trucks from the mechanics has been very favorable. So just make sure you really focus on the numbers, because we truly believe the 794 delivers the best cost per ton.
Yeah, I would add that when we introduced the 794, we knew we were going up against a very entrenched competitor that's been in the business for a very long time. We went into mine sites where we've known we were going to go head-to-head with all of our top competitors. We knew we had to have a truck that delivered the highest availability, the best mean time between stoppage, low mean time to repair, low maintenance requirements, in addition to all the productivity features that John just mentioned. So when we've went head-to-head at those mines, we believe we've won in every case. And customers are telling us that and asking for this truck more and more often, because they know this truck will deliver in any kind of application you put it into. It's got the multiple horsepower settings and can go head-to-head with our top competitors and win. So when you add it all up, we really do believe this truck does deliver a better bottom line for our customers, and that's really what we designed this truck to do.
Well, great. Well, Mark, John, thank you so much for your time and joining us here. And thank you that online for your time and joining us. This will be recorded and posted, and you'll get an email with that address. In the meantime, stay safe, continue to promote mining in the industry, and if you have a need to help lower haulage costs, please contact your Caterpillar dealer. Thank you very much.